correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone ever complained that the key is too easy, right? So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
and
Uh,
man, I wish it
hmm,
was so much harder, you know. But
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
and I've said this before, but specifically in Mythic Plus, the difficulty comes naturally when the key levels start to go up and
yeah.
they scale. So I don't think anyone would mind if they make the next season like as easy as it could be, so people can go into like 5, 6, 10s and have fun, and then the sweats, as they call them, they can always go instead of like plus 15s or 16s or whatever your barrier
Mhm.
is right now. All right, let it go to up like 20 or 21 or something. And then this is where it becomes hard. They can still get there and they would still have their challenge, but then everybody else is supposedly going to have a little bit more fun until they reach their point where they could stop pushing. And maybe they'll stay a little bit longer into the game, play it a bit more, enjoy more classes, and it's going to be just less barriers to entry and play.
I gotta agree with you 100% there. I think that they made two big mistakes this season with keys. There's a few like big ones, but there might be two big ones. One of the ones that's not talked about a lot is the squish was not good. There should be more. There should be 1 to 27s, not 1 to 17, because it gives you a gigantic sense of accomplishment and progression, and you feel better about going from a 7 to an 8 to an 8 to a 9 to a 10, and just make everything just give that extra 10 key levels. Put the rewards, I don't know, make it 15 instead of 20, which is a 10. Just make it just whatever you want to do there. But that's one of the big ones. What's the progression? Because you go from, if you're a player who was doing a +5, now you can't do a +5 because a +5 is actually hard. +5 is 15.
Yeah.
There was a whole group of players that just, who did it serve? Because I don't really care if I'm doing a +16 or a +26. That doesn't matter. It's just whatever that number is the level. I don't know who that served was the big one. The other one is the 15 seconds on death at 7. Just get rid of it. It
Yeah.
does not. What does it do? All it does is encourage toxicity, right?
Exactly.
I
And it
do a key,
starts way too early. It starts as a +7. That's way too
yeah.
early.
I've heard a lot of good takes. Maybe because it encourages, like, it's maybe not cool to have so much DPS, and they have to make the timer so tight that the top level groups, can still have 10 deaths and time a key at the highest level. Fair enough. Maybe make it so that it goes 5 seconds and then 6 seconds, and then maybe you can make it scale with Q. So like the
Yeah.
higher the key goes, the more the death penalty until it gets to 15 seconds per death. But if I'm doing it, Saucy, you do a key with somebody and they die, it feels really bad now. Whereas before it was like, oh, okay. But if you're doing a 10, that's 15 seconds off the timer.
Yeah.
Okay, you have 5 deaths by the end. You miss the key by 30 seconds. It all it does is make you upset that people died, and it's much easier to play the blame game. And I think it just encourages more toxicity, regardless of whether it's good or bad for the game. Any decision that's made to make gameplay more stressful is not good gameplay.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I think like when I'm playing this priest to that point, like it makes it not fun because I'm playing for me, and now I'm like, is the mage gonna barrier? Is the rogue gonna cloak? Is he gonna press evasion? I need to have PS. I need to dome this because normally I want to save it for that thing, but everybody already used their stuff when they didn't need to, and now I gotta play for them so you have to. And if you don't have your UI set up to watch all of that, then you're not gonna get there anyway, right? You're never gonna get to the level, especially as a healer, to really understand when am I using my cooldowns. So it becomes going back to what you said, like algebra or calculus, where it's like I need to know so much information to get this thing, and it's not really fun at that point.
Saucy, I was doing a key with the DPS player, and I've done a few keys with them, and it's like 3,300 IO plus keys, like 16s and stuff. And I didn't know, and I figured it out later because I mentioned, I was like, hey, by the way, if you see sack on you, don't press the defensive. And they're like, what's sack? And I was like, sorry,
Oh
what now?
no!
And I was like, do
Oh
you have a
man!
UI to track things? And they're like, no. And I
Why
was like,
would
hold up,
I?
wait. So like, if your disc priest like pain subs you, can you see it? They're
Wait,
like,
what?
what's pain sub? And I was like, oh no. Oh, really? I was like, just get maybe not a whole UI, just get a weak or like it's really helpful to know that at that key level, that's like kind of mandatory. Because otherwise, DPS will send all their defensives. First mechanic comes in, 3 buttons. I will never forget. It was one of the first weeks I was streaming, and I clipped it. there was a Ret Pally in like a 19 Oldham on Dragonflight Season 4. So this was like a high, it was like 29 or whatever. I was playing Prez, I was trying to learn. That's a hard dungeon. Third boss, he didn't press anything, dies to the shard because it does an incredible amount of damage.
Mhm.
And then he rezzed when there's no damage happening after the AoE, so there's no damage for 10 seconds. And he pressed Bubble, Bop on somebody else when they didn't need it. And then he pressed both his defenses in the span of 0.5 seconds when there was no damage happening after he already died. I was like, okay, what am I? There's nothing I can do as a healer. Sometimes as a healer, it's not your fault when people die. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, just